Housekeeper says she will apply for the manager position, and the entire front desk mocks her. Amanda Parker took a deep breath as she held the envelope containing her application. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from a mix of nervousness and determination that had been growing inside her for years. It was when she approached the main front desk counter that everything began to fall apart. Heather, the front desk supervisor, looked up from her computer screen and observed Amanda with that look she knew all too well, the one that reduced her to nothing. "Amanda, do you need something? Is there a problem with a room?" asked Heather in a tone that feigned kindness but carried disdain. "Actually, I came to submit my application for the general manager position," said Amanda, extending the envelope. The silence that followed lasted only 3 seconds, but felt like an eternity. Then it began. First came a muffled laugh from Jennifer, the youngest receptionist. Then Michael, the receptionist who always thought he was better than everyone, let out a loud chuckle. Within seconds, the entire lobby seemed to be laughing. Heather took the envelope, as if picking up a dirty piece of paper, holding it only by the corners, and examined it with evident contempt. "Are you serious, Amanda?" she asked, her voice echoing through the lobby. "You, a housekeeper, want to apply for the hotel's general manager position?" The laughter grew louder. Amanda felt the heat rising in her face but stood her ground. "I am serious, yes. I've worked here for 12 years. I know this hotel better than many people." "Knowing how to clean a bathroom isn't the same as knowing how to manage a hotel, dear," said Heather, and the venom in her voice was palpable. "People like you exist to clean up after the real professionals. Everyone in their place, right?" Michael approached, crossing his arms, a mocking smile on his face. "Amanda, no offense, but you barely finished high school. How are you going to compete with people who have master's degrees in hotel management? Do you really think you know how to do revenue projections, manage suppliers, deal with corporate management?" "I've been studying," Amanda began but was interrupted. "Studying?" Heather laughed again. "Studying what? How to fold sheets more efficiently." The laughter intensified. Amanda looked around and saw even some guests watching the scene with curiosity. The humiliation burned, but something inside her, something built over 5 years of sleepless nights, of sacrifices no one there knew about, kept her standing. "I'll submit my application at the corporate office," said Amanda, her voice steady despite the inner trembling. "Go ahead," said Heather, tossing the envelope back to her. "But don't fool yourself. You're going to embarrass yourself. And when you return to housekeeping after this whole circus, it will be even worse. No one will ever respect you again." Amanda picked up the envelope and walked toward the elevators. Behind her, the malicious comments continued, each word like a stab. "She thinks she's better than us just because she cleans a room well," said Jennifer, loud enough for Amanda to hear. "Poor thing, she must be having some kind of crisis. A 40-year-old woman, lonely, probably desperate for attention," added Michael. Amanda pressed the elevator button. Her nails were digging into her palm, but she didn't cry, not there, not in front of them. The elevator took forever to arrive. When the doors finally opened, Amanda entered and turned to press the button for the 10th floor, where the administrative office was located. That's when she saw Heather still watching her, a cruel smile on her face, surrounded by the front desk staff, who were laughing as if they had just witnessed the best joke of the year. The elevator doors closed, and only then, alone in that small mirrored space, Amanda allowed the tears to fall, but they were tears of anger, not surrender. She looked at her reflection. Her brown eyes were red, but there was determination in them. Her blonde hair was tied in the impeccable bun she did every morning at 5 o'clock. Her dark maid uniform was clean and well pressed, as always. For 12 years she had been invisible. For 12 years she had cleaned rooms, changed sheets, organized towels, smiled politely at guests who barely looked at her. For 12 years she had accumulated knowledge about every corner of that hotel, every detail of the operation, every recurring problem, every solution that worked. And for 5 years, since her marriage had ended and her daughter Emily had left home to study in another city, Amanda had been studying hotel management in night courses. 5 years giving up sleep, leisure, a social life, investing every penny she could save in education. The elevator stopped on the 10th floor. Amanda dried her tears, took a deep breath, and stepped out. The hallway was quiet, elegant, with thick carpet that muffled her footsteps. She had never been up there before. Maids had no reason to be on the administrative floor. But today she did. The corporate office door had a discreet sign, Northeast Regional Management. Amanda knocked. "Come in," said a female voice from the other side. She opened the door and found herself in a spacious room with a middle-aged secretary typing on a computer. The woman looked up and seemed surprised to see the maid uniform. "Can I help you?" she asked, not with disdain but with genuine surprise. "I came to submit my application for the general manager position," said Amanda, holding out the envelope. The secretary took the envelope, examined it, and to Amanda's surprise smiled kindly. "It's the first application we've received from within the hotel. Most come from other places. Your name?" "Amanda Parker." "Nice to meet you, Amanda. I'm Barbara. I'll register your application and forward it to the selection committee." "Is there any requirement I need to know about?" asked Amanda hesitantly. "Everything is in the announcement that was posted. You must have seen it on the employee bulletin board. Basically, we need management experience, education in the field or currently pursuing it, and knowledge of hotel operations. There will be practical and theoretical tests." Amanda nodded. She had all that, or almost. Her management experience was limited, but her knowledge of the operations was deep, and she was in the last semester of her technical course in hotel management. "Thank you," said Amanda. "Good luck," replied Barbara, and there was sincerity in her voice. Amanda left the office feeling a little better, but she knew the hard part was just beginning. When she returned to the ground floor, she would have to face the looks, the comments, the humiliation again. She went down the service stairs, avoiding the main lobby. She needed a few minutes to compose herself before going back to work. But when she reached the employee locker room, she found a group of fellow maids talking. The conversation stopped as soon as she entered. "Is it true, Amanda?" asked Mrs. Thompson, one of the oldest maids, a woman of nearly 60 who had worked there for over 20 years. "Did you really apply for manager?" Amanda nodded. "Are you crazy?" said Sarah, another maid. "You're going to get in trouble. Heather is already spreading it all over the hotel that you're getting too big for your britches. You'll end up losing your job over this nonsense." "It's not nonsense," said Amanda, putting her things in the locker. "I have as much right as anyone to try." "You have the right," said Mrs. Thompson, her voice gentle. "But that doesn't mean they'll give you a fair chance. You know how things work around here. People like us don't move up. We stay where we are, working until we can't take it anymore." "I don't accept that," said Amanda, turning to face them. "I studied, I worked hard, I dedicated myself. I deserve a chance." "And you think deserving is enough?" Sarah laughed bitterly. "Amanda, wake up to reality. They'll use you as an example. They'll humiliate you even more just to show everyone has their place. And in the end, you'll come back here, but everyone will look at you like a joke." The words hurt because there was truth in them. Amanda knew the chances were slim. She knew the system was against her. But something inside her, something that had grown over years of studying, overcoming, rebuilding after the divorce, wouldn't just accept giving up. "Even if I don't succeed," said Amanda, her voice firm, "at least I'll try. At least I'll show my daughter that her mother doesn't give up on her dreams." Mrs. Thompson watched her for a long moment, then sighed. "You're brave, girl. Or very stubborn. I haven't decided which yet." "Maybe both," Amanda replied, trying to smile. She put her uniform back on, tied up her hair, looked at herself in the mirror. It was time to get back to work. It was time to show that, regardless of the laughter and humiliation, she wasn't going to hide. The days that followed were the hardest in Amanda's life. The news of her application spread through the entire hotel like wildfire. Wherever she went, there were stares, whispers, muffled laughter. Heather made sure to make every moment worse. When Amanda passed by the front desk to pick up the keys for the rooms she needed to clean, the supervisor always had a venomous comment. "Look, our future manager has arrived to pick up the keys," she said loudly, so everyone could hear. "I hope when you get promoted you don't forget us poor front desk clerks. The laughter always followed, and Amanda always swallowed her anger, took the keys, and went about her work. But it wasn't just the comments. Heather started complicating her daily routine in subtle ways. She assigned Amanda the most difficult rooms, the ones left in a deplorable state by messy guests. She changed cleaning schedules at the last minute, creating conflicts with guests who complained about the interruption. She questioned every detail of Amanda's work, looking for faults where there were none. "Do you think this room is really clean?" Heather would say, inspecting with a critical eye. "Because I see a stain there on the bathroom mirror, and this towel isn't folded according to standard. You'll have to redo everything." Amanda redid it, always redid it, because she couldn't give them any reason to fire her before the selection process even began. At night, when she got home, a small one-bedroom apartment in the Queens neighborhood of New York City, Amanda would collapse exhausted on the sofa. Her body ached, her back throbbed, her hands were rough from so much work. But she opened her books, turned on the computer, and kept studying. She had college exams coming up, and the hotel's selection process would also require theoretical knowledge. She couldn't afford to relax. One night her phone rang. It was Emily, her daughter. "Hi, Mom," said the cheerful voice of the 22-year-old. "How are you?" "I'm fine, sweetie," Amanda lied, forcing enthusiasm into her voice. "And you? How are your studies going?" "They're going well. But, Mom, I saw on Facebook that you applied for a manager position at the hotel. Is it true?" Amanda was silent for a moment. She hadn't expected the news to reach Emily so quickly. "Yes, it's true." "Mom, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you." Her daughter's words made Amanda's eyes sting with tears she'd been holding back for days. "Thank you, honey, but I don't know if I'll get it. It's really hard." "You've always been the strongest person I know, Mom. When Dad left, when everything fell apart, you stood back up. You worked double shifts so I could study. You never gave up on me. Now you can't give up on yourself." "I'm trying, Emily. I'm really trying. I know you are, and I believe in you. No matter what happens, I'll be here cheering for you." After they hung up, Amanda cried. She cried from exhaustion, from fear, from hope. She cried because she was alone, because it was hard, because it seemed impossible. But after crying, she dried her tears, opened her books, and kept studying. A week later, a notice was posted on the employee bulletin board. The selection process had officially opened. Besides Amanda, other hotel employees had also applied, as well as external professionals. The first phase would consist of a written test on hotel management, administration, and customer service. Amanda noted the date. She had 2 weeks to prepare. 2 weeks to review everything she had learned over the past 5 years. But the hotel management did something unexpected. They decided to allow all interested employees to participate in the process, turning it into an internal competition. The official justification was to promote meritocracy and give opportunities to internal talent. But what really happened was that the work environment turned into a battlefield. The hotel hallways became tense, groups formed, old rivalries resurfaced, and at the center of it all, as the target of everyone's stares and comments, was Amanda. Heather intensified her campaign against her. During team meetings, she made passive-aggressive comments about people who didn't know their place. During breaks, she spread rumors about Amanda's competence. "I heard she almost failed the course she's taking," Heather said loud enough for Amanda to hear while having coffee in the break room. "And I heard she only passed some subjects because the teacher felt sorry for her." None of it was true, but the truth mattered little when the person speaking had power and influence. Michael, the receptionist, also joined the campaign. He had applied for the position and saw Amanda as a personal insult. "It's ridiculous that a housekeeper is competing with us," he said to Jennifer, making sure Amanda heard. "It devalues all our work. It's like they're saying anyone can do what we do." "Exactly," Jennifer agreed. "I studied 4 years of hospitality in college. I did internships, language courses, and now I have to compete with someone who spends the day cleaning bathrooms. It's humiliating." Amanda heard everything. Every word was like an extra weight on her already burdened shoulders. But she kept going. She kept working, kept studying, kept preparing. Mrs. Thompson, though not openly supportive, began helping Amanda in subtle ways. She took on some of the more difficult rooms that Heather assigned to her. She left anonymous notes of encouragement in Amanda's locker, small gestures that made a difference. One afternoon, while Amanda was cleaning a room on the 8th floor, she found a note under her cleaning supply box. Handwritten, it simply said, "Don't give up. You're better than they say." Amanda put the note in her uniform pocket and kept working, a small but genuine smile on her face. The written test would take place the following week. Amanda had studied every possible topic, reviewed her notes, taken practice tests. But her anxiety grew, and Heather seemed determined to sabotage her until the last moment. The day before the test, Heather called Amanda for a private conversation in her office. It was a small room behind the reception, where the supervisor managed the team. "Sit down," said Heather, pointing to the chair in front of the desk. Amanda sat, her heart racing. Nothing good ever came from Heather's private summons. "Amanda, I wanted to have an honest conversation with you," Heather began, her tone falsely kind. "Woman to woman." Amanda said nothing, just waited. "I know you've worked very hard. I know you study, that you're dedicated. And that's admirable, truly. But you need to be realistic. You're not going to get this position." "You can't know that," Amanda replied, her voice calm despite the anger she felt. "Yes, I can, because I know the directors. I know what they want, and it's not you. They want someone with management experience, someone with a complete college degree, someone who has already handled administrative responsibilities. You have none of that." "I have 12 years of experience at this hotel. I know every detail of the operation." "You know every detail of how to clean rooms," Heather corrected, the poison returning to her voice. "That's not the same as knowing the operation. Do you think you know what it's like to manage people? Handle crises? Make decisions that affect hundreds of employees? I can learn." "Not at that level, not at that speed. Amanda, you're fooling yourself. And worse, you're creating an awkward situation for all of us. People are laughing at you. They're making jokes. You're becoming a laughingstock." "Let them laugh," said Amanda, standing up. "I'm not going to give up just because people think it's funny. Then you'll go through the humiliation of losing publicly. And when you lose, you'll have to come back here to your housekeeping job and you'll have to live with everyone knowing you failed. Do you have any idea how hard that's going to be?" "Maybe it will be hard, but at least I tried. At least I didn't let fear stop me." Heather stood up too, the mask of false kindness completely falling away. "You're a fool, Amanda, a proud fool who's going to fall flat on her face, and I'm going to love watching it happen." Amanda left the office with shaky legs, but with her head held high. Heather wanted to break her confidence on the eve of the test. It wasn't going to work. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. The morning of the test dawned cloudy. Amanda woke up at 5 in the morning, as always, but instead of getting ready for work, she got ready for what could be the most important day of her career. She put on a simple but elegant outfit, a white blouse and black pants, the only clothes she had that weren't her work uniform. She pulled her hair into a low bun, applied light makeup, and looked at herself in the mirror. "You can do this," she said to her reflection, trying to convince herself. The test would be held in the hotel's event hall, temporarily converted into an exam room. When Amanda arrived, several people were already waiting. She recognized some faces. Michael was there, talking animatedly with Jennifer. Other hotel employees she knew by sight were also waiting. And there were the external candidates, people in expensive business clothes, leather briefcases, a confidence in their posture. Amanda felt small, out of place, but she took a deep breath and went in. A coordinator from the human resources area, a woman named Patricia, distributed the tests and explained the rules. 3 hours to answer 50 questions about hotel management, administration, human resources, finance, and customer service. Essay questions and multiple choice. When Amanda received the test, her hands trembled. She opened the booklet and began to read the first question. It was about managing conflicts between employees. She knew the theory, she had studied, but the pressure was immense. "Focus," she thought. "You studied for this. You know the answers." She began to write. Gradually, anxiety gave way to concentration. The questions were difficult but not impossible. Many of them related to practical situations that she, ironically, had experienced from a different perspective over the years at the hotel. One question asked about how to handle an employee who consistently failed to meet quality standards. Amanda thought of all the times she had seen Heather deal with such situations, both correctly and incorrectly. She wrote about the importance of constructive feedback, proper training, and understanding the root causes of the problem before applying disciplinary measures. Another question addressed customer service crisis management. Amanda remembered a specific episode 3 years ago when a family of important guests complained about issues in their room. The manager at the time had handled the situation masterfully, listening to the complaints, offering immediate solutions, and personally following up to ensure satisfaction. Amanda included this type of approach in her answer, adapting it to the context of the question. The hours passed quickly. With 15 minutes left until the end, Amanda was still reviewing her answers, checking every word, every calculation, every argument. Finally, time was up. Patricia collected the exams. Amanda handed hers in and left the hall with a mix of relief and apprehension. She had done the best she could but wasn't sure if it would be enough. Outside the hall, she found Michael and Jennifer talking. Some questions were really difficult, Jennifer was saying. That one about revenue projection was almost impossible. For someone who hasn't studied finance in depth, maybe, replied Michael presumptuously. For me, it was easy. I'm sure I aced it. They noticed Amanda and fell silent. Then Michael smiled, that condescending smile she hated. So, Amanda, did you at least understand the questions? I did, she replied, trying to get past them. Must have been hard for you, Michael continued. Some questions required knowledge that only someone with a complete higher education would have. I did my best, said Amanda, not wanting to get into this discussion. Your best won't be enough, said Jennifer, her voice without Michael's malice, but still harsh. Amanda, really, you should spare yourself this humiliation. There's still time to drop out before the next phase. I'm not giving up. Then prepare for disappointment, said Michael, shrugging. But anyway, everyone knows where the shoe pinches. Amanda walked away from them, feeling the familiar burn of anger and frustration. But there was something else too, something she didn't expect to feel. Pride. Pride for having gotten there, for taking the test, for not giving up. The results of the first phase would be announced in a week of anxiety, of torturous waiting, of sleepless nights imagining all possible scenarios. During that week, Amanda returned to her usual routine. She cleaned rooms, changed sheets, organized towels. But something had changed. People looked at her differently, some with renewed respect for her having the courage to try, others with even more disdain, as if she were an imposter who dared to enter forbidden territory. Heather was particularly irritated. The supervisor had heard through comments from those who took the test that Amanda had done well, that her answers seemed coherent and well-founded. This contradicted the narrative Heather had been building, that Amanda was incompetent. On Thursday of that week, something happened that almost destroyed everything. Amanda was finishing cleaning a room on the 15th floor when she was urgently called to the operational management office. Her heart raced. Urgent calls were never good news. When she got there, she found not only the operations manager, but also Heather and 2 hotel security guards. Her stomach churned. Amanda, said the manager, a woman named Samantha, her face serious. We've received a serious complaint about you. A complaint? About what? About theft of guests' belongings. The world seemed to stop. Amanda felt her legs weaken. What? I would never do that. The complaint is specific, continued Samantha, clearly uncomfortable. It says that 3 years ago, you stole a gold bracelet from a guest in room 1204. The guest at the time reported the disappearance, but no investigation was conclusive. Now, a witness has come forward saying they saw you hiding something in your pocket that day. That's a lie. Amanda felt tears beginning to form. I never stole anything from anyone. Who made this complaint? The complaint was anonymous, said Heather, and there was something in her voice, a poorly disguised satisfaction. "But the person attached documents, copies of internal records from that time. It's all very serious." "I remember that case," said Amanda, desperate. "The guest lost the bracelet, but later they found out she had left it at a restaurant. The bracelet was returned to her. That's in the records." "It's not in the records we have here," said Heather, showing a folder with papers. Amanda looked at the documents. They were copies of internal reports from that time, but they were incomplete. They were missing exactly the pages that showed the resolution of the case, that proved the bracelet had been found and returned. "This is incomplete," said Amanda. "The full records must be in the General Archive. This has been tampered with." "Amanda, I understand you're nervous," said Samantha. "But these are serious accusations we need to investigate. Until the investigation is over, you will be suspended from your duties." "Suspended?" Amanda felt the floor disappear beneath her feet. "But the second phase of the selection process is next week. Unfortunately, employees under investigation cannot participate in internal selection processes. It's company policy." "This is a setup." Amanda looked at Heather, the certainty growing inside her. "You did this, didn't you? You forged this complaint to get me out of the process." "Watch what you say," retorted Heather, feigning indignation. "You're being accused of theft, and you still have the nerve to accuse me of a setup. That just shows your true character." "Enough," said Samantha, raising her hand. "Amanda, collect your belongings and go home. You will be contacted by the Human Resources Department about the next steps of the investigation. Until then, you are suspended." "But I need to work," said Amanda, her voice breaking. "I have bills to pay, and I'm innocent." "The investigation will prove that or not," said Samantha. But there was doubt in her voice, as if she had already decided on Amanda's guilt. Amanda left that office in shock. Her colleagues had seen the security guards taking her there. When she passed through the service corridor, the looks were of curiosity, judgment, satisfaction from those who had always wished her ill. She went to the locker room, collected her things from the locker with trembling hands. Mrs. Thompson was there, and seeing Amanda's state, she approached. "What happened, girl?" "They accused me of theft," said Amanda, her voice a whisper. "They say I stole a bracelet 3 years ago. It's a lie, Mrs. Thompson. It's all a lie. Someone forged this to get me out of the selection process." Mrs. Thompson put her hand on Amanda's shoulder, a simple gesture but full of compassion. "I believe you. I've known you for years. You're one of the most honest people I know." "But no one else will believe me," said Amanda, the tears finally falling. "They'll think I'm a thief. They'll fire me. And my chance to get the position, to change my life, is gone." "It's not gone until you give up," said Mrs. Thompson. "You need to fight, girl. You need to prove your innocence." "How? The complaint is anonymous. The documents are manipulated. It's my word against theirs." "Then you'll have to be smarter," said Mrs. Thompson, lowering her voice. "You'll have to find evidence. You'll have to figure out who did this and why." Amanda looked at the older woman, seeing the determination in her eyes, and something inside her, something that was about to break, grew slightly stronger. "You're right," she said, drying her tears. "I'm not going to give up. I'm going to prove that I'm innocent, and I'm going to find out who set this up." But as she said these words, Amanda wondered if she really would be capable, if she had enough strength to fight against an entire system that seemed determined to keep her in her place. She left the hotel through the service exit, avoiding the main lobby. The afternoon was grey, a fine drizzle beginning to fall. Amanda walked to the bus stop, sat on the wet bench, and finally allowed all the emotion to overwhelm her. She cried there, alone, while people passed by without noticing, each absorbed in their own world. When she got home, Amanda collapsed on the couch and stared at the ceiling. Her phone rang. It was Emily. She thought about not answering, about not telling her daughter what had happened, but in the end she answered. "Hi, Mom, how are you?" Emily's cheerful voice made Amanda break down again. "Emily, something bad happened." "What? What is it, Mom?" Amanda told her everything. The false complaint, the suspension, the exclusion from the selection process. And as she told it, she expected Emily, like so many others, to doubt her. But her daughter's response was immediate and firm. "That's ridiculous. Mom, you're the most honest person there is. You would never steal anything from anyone. Someone is doing this to hurt you. I know, honey, but I don't know how to prove it. You'll find a way. You always do. Mom, don't let them destroy your dreams. You deserve this opportunity, and I'll help you with whatever you need. How? You're in Boston, far from here. I'm coming to New York City this weekend. I'll stay with you. We'll investigate this together. Emily, you don't have to. Yes, I do. You've always been there for me. Now it's my turn to be here for you. After they hung up, Amanda felt a spark of hope. She wasn't alone. She had her daughter, and she had Mrs. Thompson who, despite the fear of retaliation, seemed willing to help her. In the following days, Amanda didn't stay idle. She started investigating on her own. She requested a copy of the complete records of the bracelet incident from the Human Resources Department, claiming she needed it for her defense. It was denied. She tried to access the hotel's system remotely, using her employee password. Her password had been deactivated. Every door she tried to open was closed. It was as if someone had meticulously planned every step to ensure she couldn't defend herself. Emily arrived on Friday night. Mother and daughter hugged at the apartment door, and Amanda felt for the first time in days that maybe there was a way out. "Tell me everything again," said Emily, sitting on the couch with a notebook. "Every detail. Let's put together a timeline and find the flaws in this accusation." They spent the night talking, taking notes, mapping out strategies. Emily, with her 22 years and studying journalism, had a sharp, investigative mind. "The complaint is anonymous, right?" said Emily. "But it must have been made by someone inside the hotel. Someone with access to the old files. Someone who had a reason to want you out of the selection process." "Heather," said Amanda without hesitation. "She has access to everything. She has the power. And she made it very clear that she doesn't want me to get this position. So we need to prove it was her. We need evidence. But how? I no longer have access to the hotel. I don't have access to the files. I have nothing." "You have friends inside," said Emily. "That Mrs. Thompson you mentioned. Other people who know you and know you're honest, they can be our eyes and ears." Amanda thought for a moment, then nodded. "You're right. I'll talk to Mrs. Thompson. I'll see who else can help us." On Saturday morning, Amanda called Mrs. Thompson. The conversation was cautious, knowing that phone calls could be monitored. They arranged to meet at a bakery near the hotel. Mrs. Thompson arrived nervous, looking around as if expecting to be followed. "I shouldn't be here," said the older woman. "If they find out I'm helping you, I could lose my job." "I know, Mrs. Thompson, and I'm very grateful you're here. I won't ask you to do anything that puts you at risk. I just need information." "What do you want to know?" "The documents that Heather showed, the records from the bracelet incident. Do you know where the original files are kept?" "They're in the archive room, in the basement, but it's a locked room. Only Heather and Samantha have keys." "And the electronic system, the digital records?" "They're restricted too, but I heard something." Mrs. Thompson hesitated, then continued. "Sarah, you know, that housekeeper who sometimes works with me. She mentioned she saw Heather in the archive room last week, late at night. She was there working overtime and passed by the hallway. She thought it was strange because Heather doesn't usually go there." Amanda and Emily exchanged looks. "She might have gone there to tamper with the documents," said Emily. "Possibly," agreed Mrs. Thompson. "But we have no way to prove it." "And this Sarah," said Amanda, "would she agree to give a statement, to officially tell what she saw?" Mrs. Thompson made a doubtful expression. "She's scared. She has 2 young children, needs the job. I don't know if she'd risk standing up against Heather." "I understand," said Amanda, disappointed but not surprised. "But there's something else," said Mrs. Thompson, lowering her voice even more. "Barbara, the secretary in the corporate office, she mentioned to me that she found it odd when the complaint arrived. She said the envelope had no sender, but it had been placed on her desk during lunchtime when she wasn't there. She thought it was suspicious because normally the office doors are locked when no one's there." "So someone with access to the keys went in there," said Emily. "Exactly," agreed Mrs. Thompson. "And not many people have those keys. Barbara herself, Samantha, some directors, and Heather. She has access to almost everything in the hotel." "That's a start," said Amanda, feeling a small spark of hope. "If we can establish a pattern, prove that Heather had means and motive." "You'll need more than that," said Mrs. Thompson. "You'll need concrete evidence, and you'll need to act fast. The second phase of the selection process is next week. If you're not reinstated by then, you'll miss your chance." The three women fell silent for a moment, each lost in their own thoughts. Then Emily spoke. "What if we catch Heather red-handed?" "How so?" asked Amanda. "If she forged documents once, she might do it again. If she's so determined to harm you, she might try something else. If we can anticipate her, catch her in the act." "That's risky," said Mrs. Thompson. "Everything in this situation is risky," Emily countered. "But sitting around waiting for time to pass won't solve anything." Amanda looked at her daughter, seeing the determination in her eyes. It was the same determination she herself felt, but which was being eroded by doubt and fear. Emily was giving her back her courage. "What exactly are you suggesting?" asked Amanda. "Let's provoke a reaction," said Emily. "Let's make Heather think you found something, some evidence. Let's make her nervous. Nervous people make mistakes." "And if it goes wrong?" asked Mrs. Thompson. "If it goes wrong, we won't be worse off than we already are," said Emily. Amanda took a deep breath. It was a risk, but maybe it was the only way. "All right," she said. "Let's do it." They spent the rest of the afternoon planning. Emily, with her budding investigative journalist mind, crafted a strategy. They would use the hotel's social media, where employees communicated informally, to plant the information that Amanda had found inconsistencies in the documents and was preparing a formal complaint against whoever fabricated the accusation. It was a lie, but a strategic one. Strategic. If Heather took the bait, if she tried to cover her tracks or create more evidence against Amanda, they would be ready. Mrs. Thompson agreed to be their eyes inside the hotel, monitoring any suspicious behavior from Heather. On Sunday night, Emily created an anonymous account and posted in the hotel's private employee group on Facebook. The message was carefully crafted to look like it came from an employee sympathetic to Amanda. "I heard that Amanda Parker found proof that the documents used against her were tampered with. She's gathering more evidence and will file a formal complaint. The truth always comes out. Justice will be served." The message was seen by dozens of employees within hours, and it would certainly reach Heather's ears. Now it was a matter of waiting. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. On Monday morning, the hotel was buzzing. The anonymous message had caused a stir. Employees whispered, speculated, took sides. Some defended Amanda, saying they always knew she was honest. Others condemned her, claiming desperate people do anything. Heather was visibly upset. Mrs. Thompson, who had come in to work as usual, watched the supervisor's every move, and what she saw was revealing. Early in the morning, Heather made 3 urgent phone calls from her office. The door was closed, but Mrs. Thompson could hear the tone, even without understanding the words. It was a tone of anger, of panic. Then, around 10 in the morning, Heather left the hotel in a hurry, something unusual in the middle of the workday. She didn't say where she was going. She just left. Mrs. Thompson immediately called Amanda. "She left," she said in a low voice. She was agitated, nervous, left without telling anyone. "Where did she go?" asked Amanda. "I don't know, but she was carrying a document folder." Amanda and Emily were in the apartment waiting for any development. They had stayed up all night, nervous, wondering if the plan would work or just make things worse. "She took the bait," said Emily excitedly. "She's scared." "Or she's going after more ways to frame me," said Amanda, the worry evident. "Whatever the case, now we know she's involved. Innocent people don't react like that." Half an hour later, Mrs. Thompson called again. "She's back, and she went straight to the records room. Can you get close, see what she's doing?" "I'll try." Mrs. Thompson hung up. Amanda's heart was racing. Something was happening. Heather was acting. She was doing something. But what? 15 minutes of silence that felt like hours. Then the phone rang again. She took a box of old files, said Mrs. Thompson breathlessly. I saw her leaving the records room with a box. She went into her office and locked the door. She's destroying evidence, said Emily, who was listening on speakerphone, or planting more. What do we do? Asked Amanda, the feeling of helplessness returning. We need someone with authority, said Emily, someone above Heather who can intervene. Barbara, said Mrs. Thompson, the secretary at the corporate office. She's always been fair, and she's been suspicious of the complaint from the start. Can you talk to her? Asked Amanda. I can try, but I need something concrete to bring. I can't just say I think Heather is doing something wrong. Emily thought for a moment, then had an idea. Mrs. Thompson, can you take a picture from outside Heather's office, showing she's been in there a long time with the door locked with that file box? I can try, but if she sees me, be discreet. Use your cell phone, pretend you're texting, anything. Mrs. Thompson agreed and hung up. What she was about to do could cost her job, but something in her, maybe a sense of justice, maybe a female solidarity with Amanda, drove her on. She walked down the hallway where Heather's office was, pretending to carry towels to the storage room. The door was closed. She could hear movement inside. Discreetly, she took her cell phone from her pocket and pretended to check messages, but was actually taking pictures of the closed door and the nameplate with Heather's name. It wasn't much, but it was something. Then she heard voices approaching. It was Michael and Jennifer coming from the lobby. She hurried on her way, her heart racing. Later, during her lunch break, Mrs. Thompson went to the 10th floor. Barbara was at her desk typing on her computer. Miss Barbara, may I speak with you for a minute? Barbara looked up, surprised to see a maid there. Of course, what do you need? It's about Amanda Parker, the maid who was suspended because of the theft complaint. Barbara's face turned serious. What about her? I've worked with Amanda for years. She's one of the most honest people I know. I believe that complaint was fabricated. These are serious accusations, said Barbara, but there was interest in her eyes, not rejection. I know, but today Heather, the front desk supervisor, is acting very strange. She went to the archives, got a box of old documents, and has been locked in her office for hours. I think she's destroying evidence or creating more false ones. Barbara leaned back in her chair, processing the information. Do you have any proof of what you're saying? Mrs. Thompson showed the photos she had taken. They weren't much, but they were something. I shouldn't be here, said Mrs. Thompson, her voice trembling. I could lose my job for this, but I can't stand by and watch an injustice happen. Barbara looked at the older woman with renewed respect. You're being very brave, and I've had my doubts about this complaint from the start too. The way it came in anonymous, right when Amanda was about to advance in the selection process, it all seemed too convenient. So will you investigate? I'll do better than that. I'll speak directly with the director in charge of the selection process. He has the authority to intervene. Who is he? William Peterson. He's the regional operations director. A fair man, but demanding. If there's something wrong here, he'll find it. Mrs. Thompson left the office feeling a mix of relief and fear. She had done what she could. Now it was in the hands of people with more power than her. Barbara didn't waste any time. She picked up the phone and called William Peterson. He was in a meeting, but she insisted it was urgent. Half an hour later, he returned the call. Barbara, you said it was urgent. What happened? Mr. William, I need to speak with you about the case of the suspended employee, Amanda Parker. The housekeeper accused of theft. Yes, I have reasons to believe the complaint may have been fabricated. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Explain. Barbara told him everything. How the complaint had come in, the inconsistencies, Heather's suspicious behavior that day. William listened in silence. I'm coming to the hotel now, he said finally. Do nothing until I arrive and don't tell anyone you spoke with me. Yes, sir. William Peterson was a man in his 50s, tall, with a rigid posture, known for his seriousness and his intolerance for injustice or dishonesty. He had started in the hotel industry as a front desk clerk and had risen through merit and hard work. He did not tolerate unfair privileges or abuses of power. He arrived at the hotel an hour later, discreetly, and went straight to Barbara's office. Show me everything you have, he said. Barbara showed him the records, the photos Mrs. Thompson had taken, and explained the timeline of events. William analyzed everything with meticulous attention. "Where is Heather now?" he asked. "In her office, I believe." "And the file box?" "I don't know. I assume she still has it." "Let's find out." William went down to the reception, with Barbara following him. His presence immediately caused a stir. Employees straightened up. Nervous smiles appeared. William was respected and feared in equal measure. He went straight to Heather's office and knocked on the door. "Come in," said Heather's voice from the other side. William opened the door. Heather was sitting at her desk, and her face immediately paled when she saw who it was. "Mr. Peterson, I didn't know you were coming today. No one told me." "They weren't supposed to," said William, entering the office and scanning the room. "I'm here to deal with an urgent matter." "Of course, what do you need?" "I need you to show me the files you took from the archives today." Heather hesitated, just for a fraction of a second, but it was long enough for William to notice. "What files?" "Don't pretend you don't know. You went to the archives this morning, took a box of documents, and have been in here for hours with the door locked. Where are those documents?" "I was organizing some old records, administrative routine." "In the middle of a workday without telling anyone with the door locked." William took a step forward. "Heather, I'm going to ask again, and I suggest you be honest. Where are the documents?" Heather glanced at the box under her desk, trying to decide what to do. William followed her gaze and saw the box. "Barbara, call security," said William. "I want this box sealed and taken to the corporate office for analysis." "Mr. Peterson, this is an overreaction," began Heather, but her voice was trembling. "I haven't done anything wrong." "Then you won't mind us examining these documents, will you?" Two security guards appeared at the door. William instructed them to seal the box and take it to a secure room. "Heather, you are temporarily suspended from your duties while we investigate what's going on here," said William. "Gather your personal belongings. Security will escort you out." "But, Mr. Peterson, I can explain." "You'll have a chance to explain formally. For now, you're suspended." Heather left the office, escorted by the security guards, her face red with anger and humiliation. Employees watched the scene with their mouths agape. No one knew exactly what was happening, but it was clear something serious had occurred. William spent the rest of the afternoon examining the documents from the box. What he found confirmed his suspicions. There were original records from the bracelet incident 3 years ago, including the final pages that showed the item had been found and returned. There were also drafts of documents that appeared to be edited versions, with information removed. And, more damning, there were handwritten notes on a separate paper, with what seemed to be a plan for how to build a false accusation against Amanda. William called Barbara. "Call a meeting tomorrow morning. I want Samantha, you, Heather, and bring Amanda Parker as well. It's time to settle this once and for all." Barbara immediately called Amanda. "Amanda, it's Barbara from the corporate office. Mr. William Peterson wants to speak with you tomorrow morning at 9. It's about your situation." "What happened?" asked Amanda, her heart racing. "I can't say much over the phone, but things are developing in your favor. Be here tomorrow, and don't worry." Amanda hung up the phone and looked at Emily, who was by her side listening to everything. "They found something," said Emily, her eyes shining. "Mom, they found out." "We still don't know what will happen," said Amanda, trying to contain her hope. "It could be anything." "It could be, but from her tone it sounds good." Amanda spent the night without sleeping. Her mind spun with possibilities. What had William discovered? Would it be enough to clear her name? And more importantly, would it be enough for her to return to the selection process? The next morning, Amanda dressed with the same care she had for the test. She wanted to look professional, composed, even though inside she was a whirlwind of nerves. Emily wanted to go along, but Amanda asked her to stay. This was something she needed to face alone. She arrived at the hotel 15 minutes early. The lobby was quieter than usual. Some employees looked at her with curiosity, others with what seemed like sympathy. The news that William had suspended Heather had spread, and with it, speculation about what had really happened. Amanda went up to the 10th floor. Barbara greeted her with a kind smile. "The meeting will be in the conference room. Follow me." Inside the room were already William Peterson, Samantha, the operations manager, and Heather, who avoided looking at Amanda. There was also a man from the hotel's legal department, whom Amanda didn't know. Everyone sat down. William began. "Amanda Parker, you have been called here because new developments have emerged regarding the complaint made against you. After investigation, we have found evidence that the complaint was fabricated." Amanda felt her legs weaken with relief, but she maintained her composure. "The documents that were presented as evidence against you were deliberately altered. Pages were removed, context was manipulated, and the complaint was timed to coincide with your participation in the selection process," continued William, then turned to Heather. "All of this traced back to you, Heather." Heather finally spoke, her voice defensive. "I don't know what you're talking about. I just organized the files. If there were inconsistencies, I didn't create them." "We found handwritten notes in your handwriting," said William, placing the papers on the table. "Notes planning exactly how to build this accusation. We found drafts of edited documents, and we found the original records you tried to hide, which unequivocally prove that Amanda Parker is innocent." The silence in the room was deafening. Heather looked at the documents, then at the people around the table. Her face went from white to red. I can explain." "Please explain," said William, his tone cold. Heather took a deep breath, then the words came out in a desperate rush. She didn't deserve that position. A housekeeper, someone without proper training, without management experience, wanting to compete for general manager. It was an insult to all of us who worked for years to get where we are. She needed to understand her place. "So you fabricated a criminal complaint against her," said William. "It wasn't a question, it was a statement. I just wanted her to give up, to stop this nonsense and return to her job. I didn't imagine it would go this far." "You destroyed the reputation of an honest employee," said William, his voice hard as stone. "You abused your position of authority. You violated company policies and potentially committed crimes. Document forgery, slander, abuse of power." Heather started crying, but no one in the room showed sympathy. "Heather, you're fired for just cause," said William. "The legal department will assess whether we'll pursue legal action against you. You have 1 hour to collect your belongings and leave the hotel. Security will escort you." Heather left the room sobbing, escorted. Amanda watched, feeling a mix of satisfaction and sadness. Satisfaction because justice had been served, sadness because all of that could have been avoided if people simply respected each other. William then turned to Amanda. "Amanda, on behalf of the hotel, I apologize for what you went through. The accusation against you is completely nullified. Your record will be cleared and you'll be reinstated immediately." "Thank you, sir," said Amanda, her voice choked up. "There's more," continued William. "Due to the extraordinary events that occurred, the selection process for general manager was temporarily paused for review. However, your participation is guaranteed. The second phase will take place next week as scheduled, and you'll have all the same opportunities as the other candidates." Amanda nodded, unable to speak, tears beginning to fall. "And Amanda," said William, a rare smile appearing on his serious face, "I reviewed your test from the first phase. You had one of the highest scores. Keep it up." She left that room feeling as if an immense weight had been lifted from her shoulders. When she passed through the lobby, she saw Mrs. Thompson looking anxiously. Amanda waved, smiling, and saw the older woman sigh with relief. She left the hotel and called Emily. "Mum, what happened?" "We did it, honey. The accusation was nullified. I'm back." Emily screamed with joy on the other end of the line, and Amanda laughed, a genuine laugh of liberation, perhaps the first in weeks. But while celebrating, Amanda knew the real battle was still to come. The second phase of the selection process, and now without the excuse of a false accusation, she would have to prove her true worth. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, feel free to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. The second phase of the selection process began the following Monday. This time it wasn't just written tests. They were practical challenges, real situations a manager would face daily. Amanda was nervous, but also determined. She had been through the worst the hotel could throw at her. Now it was time to show what she was capable of. The candidates were divided into groups. Amanda was placed in the same group as Michael and an external candidate named Catherine, a woman in her 30s with a master's in hotel management and experience in major chains. The first challenge was crisis management. William, who was personally supervising this phase, presented a scenario. A group of important guests had reservations for a corporate event, but there was a system error and the rooms were overbooked. There weren't enough rooms for everyone. How to solve it? Michael was the first to speak confidently. Simple. We relocate the less important guests to another hotel in the chain and keep the VIPs here. And if there isn't another hotel in the chain available? Asked William. Michael hesitated. Then, we offer upgrades for guests who agree to move to any other hotel. And the cost of that? Pressed William. The hotel absorbs it. It's the price of maintaining customer satisfaction. Catherine was next. I would analyze each guest's profile, she said. I'd identify who has more flexibility, who's traveling for business versus leisure, who has a history of being understanding. Then I'd approach strategically, offering appropriate compensations for each profile. Interesting, said William. And you, Amanda? Amanda took a deep breath. First of all, I'd check when the mistake happened and why. If it was a system error, it could affect other dates too. Then I'd look at the history of all involved guests, not just how important they are to the hotel, but their preferences, their specific needs. For example, 3 years ago, we had a similar situation. A family was celebrating their daughter's honeymoon. They were relocated to another hotel and were extremely dissatisfied, not because of the hotel change, but because nobody considered the emotional significance of their stay. If I were managing, I'd personally speak with each guest, explain the situation honestly, and create customized solutions. Some might prefer to stay even in smaller rooms. Others might accept moving if we offer something meaningful, not just an upgrade, but something that shows we value the relationship with them. William watched her for a long moment. Continue. And I'd make sure the entire team knew exactly what happened and how we're handling it. Nothing worse than guests receiving contradictory information from different staff members. Clear internal communication is as important as external. William took notes. Catherine looked at Amanda with renewed respect. Michael seemed irritated. The challenges continued throughout the week. Team management, financial planning, conflict resolution, service innovation. Each day brought new tests, new opportunities to fail or shine. Amanda wasn't perfect. She made mistakes, especially in the more technical financial questions, where her training was still in progress. But what she demonstrated repeatedly was something no diploma could teach: deep knowledge of the hotel, genuine empathy for guests and employees, and an ability to think of practical solutions based on real experience. During one of the challenges, they were placed in a team management situation. They had to deal with 2 employees in conflict, one accusing the other of not doing their job properly. Catherine approached the situation with established protocols: separate meetings, formal mediation, written documentation. Michael was more direct, warning for both, clear expectations, consequences if the conflict continued. Amanda listened to both approaches, then asked to speak. Both approaches have merit, she said, but I'd add something. Before applying any protocol, I'd investigate the root of the conflict. In my experience, when employees get into conflict, there's usually something deeper going on. It could be a personal issue outside work that's affecting performance. It could be a misunderstanding about responsibilities. It could even be a communication issue between shifts. 2 years ago, 2 housekeepers were constantly in conflict. The manager at the time applied warnings, but the problem continued, until we discovered that one of them was caring for a sick mother and was exhausted, making mistakes that the other had to correct. The solution wasn't punishment. It was schedule adjustments and support. The conflict disappeared. William smiled slightly. It was an almost imperceptible smile, but it was there. The week was intense and exhausting. Amanda came home every night tired, but with growing satisfaction. She was competing on equal footing. She was no longer the humiliated maid. She was a legitimate candidate. Emily had returned to Boston, but called every night to hear how the day had gone. Mrs. Thompson left encouraging messages, and some former guests who had learned about Amanda Parker's story sent flowers and support cards to the hotel. The last day of the second phase was the most challenging. William Peterson presented a complex scenario. The hotel was below its occupancy target, the competition was offering lower prices, and corporate management was pressuring for results. How to turn the situation around? This time, each candidate had to prepare a complete presentation, as if they were actually proposing strategies to the board. Amanda worked all night on her presentation. She didn't have the sophisticated visuals that Catherine Davis probably had, nor the polished rhetoric of Michael. But she had something she had learned in those 12 years, knowledge of what worked and what didn't in that specific hotel. On the day of the presentation, Catherine was first. Her presentation was impeccable. Professional slides, well-organized data, strategies based on case studies from major international chains. She proposed digital marketing campaigns, partnerships with travel agencies, service diversification. Michael was second. His approach was more aggressive. He proposed cost cuts, renegotiating contracts with suppliers, raising prices for premium services to compensate for low occupancy. Then it was Amanda's turn. She stood up, her hands slightly trembling, and began. "My proposal is different from the previous ones," she said, "because it's based on something I've observed during 12 years of working here. What makes guests return isn't necessarily low prices or aggressive marketing, it's the experience they have." She presented data she had informally collected over the years, guest return rates, comments on review sites, recurring complaints, and she proposed a series of small but impactful operational improvements. Our breakfast, for example, is served until 10 in the morning, but business guests often have early meetings and miss breakfast. Many complain about this. If we extend the hours or create a quick breakfast option for those leaving early, with minimal additional cost, we increase satisfaction. She continued point by point, showing small changes that, added together, could transform the guest experience and justify competitive prices without entering a price war. And as for marketing, Amanda concluded, I would propose something that large hotels rarely do: personalization at scale. We have records of every guest who has ever stayed here, their preferences, the reason for their trips, their special dates. If we use this information to create personalized offers, we show that we're not just a hotel, we're the hotel that remembers them. This creates loyalty that no generic campaign can. When she finished, there was silence in the room. William was taking notes. Catherine seemed thoughtful. Michael had a frustrated expression. "Thank you for the presentations," William finally said. "The final results will be announced in 2 days." 2 days. Amanda knew they would be the 2 longest days of her life. She returned to work during this period, resuming her maid duties. But now, when she walked through the halls, people looked at her differently. There was respect. There was curiosity. Some even stopped to wish her luck. Michael avoided looking at her. Jennifer seemed conflicted, as if she wanted to apologize but didn't know how. And Mrs. Thompson, the one time they crossed paths in the locker room, simply hugged Amanda and said, "Regardless of the outcome, you've already won. You've proven you're capable. That's something no one can take away from you." The night before the results were announced, Amanda couldn't sleep. She relived every moment of the process, every answer she had given, every decision she had made. Had it been enough? Could her practical knowledge really compete with higher academic education and experience in large chains? She thought about giving up that first time, when the laughter echoed through the lobby. She thought about giving up when she was falsely accused. She thought about giving up in every difficult moment. But she didn't give up, and now she was 1 day away from finding out if it had all been worth it. In the morning, Amanda dressed carefully. She didn't know if she should go to the hotel in her maid uniform or in regular clothes. She decided on the uniform. It was who she was. It was where she came from. And she wasn't ashamed of that. When she arrived at the hotel, there was a notice on the bulletin board. General meeting at 10 in the morning in the event hall. All employees were invited for the announcement of the selection process results. 10 in the morning. There were still 3 hours left. Amanda tried to work, but she couldn't concentrate. Finally, she gave up and went to the locker room where she sat, watching the clock, every minute dragging on forever. Mrs. Thompson came in and sat beside her. Nervous? Very, Amanda admitted. No matter what happens in a little while, you have to promise me one thing. What? That you won't stop fighting, that you won't let a result define you. You're stronger than that. Amanda nodded, her eyes moist. Finally, 10 in the morning. The event hall was packed. Employees from all departments were there. And in the front, seated at a long table, were William Peterson, Samantha, Barbara, and 2 other directors Amanda didn't know. In the front row were the candidates. Amanda sat down, her legs shaky. Catherine was beside her, calm and composed. Michael was on the other side, his leg bouncing nervously. William stood up, and the room's chatter ceased. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. As you know, we conducted a selection process for the position of general manager of this hotel. It was a rigorous process that tested not only theoretical knowledge, but also practical skills, problem-solving ability, and, fundamentally, an understanding of what it means to lead and serve. He paused, looking at the candidates. We had exceptional candidates. Each brought unique qualities. But in the end, we had to make a decision. Amanda's heart was beating so hard, she was sure everyone could hear it. Before the announcement, I need to say something important. This process showed us that talent exists in places we don't always look. That experience comes in different forms, and that courage and determination are qualities as important as diplomas and resumes. William looked directly at Amanda. The general manager position goes to... The silence was absolute. Catherine Davis. Amanda felt as if she had been punched in the stomach. Catherine stood up, smiling, receiving applause. Amanda tried to applaud too, but her hands were numb. She couldn't. She didn't get the position. After everything, after fighting so hard, she didn't get it. Tears began to form, but she held them back. She wasn't going to cry there. She wasn't going to give anyone that satisfaction. But then William raised his hand, asking for silence again. However, he continued, during this process, it became clear that this hotel needs more than a general manager. It needs renewal in its management. It needs people who understand the operation deeply and can bring real change. He looked at Amanda again. Amanda Parker, you will not be our general manager, but I would like to offer you the position of operations assistant manager with a 6-month development program. You will work directly with me, learning the aspects you still need to develop. And at the end of this period, if you demonstrate the growth I believe you're capable of, you'll have all the necessary tools to take on leadership positions in the future. Amanda Parker froze. Assistant manager? She had achieved something, but not what she expected. Was it a consolation prize or a real opportunity? I won't deceive you, said William Peterson as if reading her thoughts. You still have gaps in your training. You're strong in operations, in understanding people, in solving practical problems. But you need to develop skills in financial management, in long-term strategic planning, in dealing with corporate management. These 6 months are to fill those gaps. It's not a gift, it's an opportunity you'll have to earn day after day. Amanda stood up, her legs trembling. I accept, she said, her voice firm despite the emotion. The hall erupted in applause, and this time the applause was genuine, warm. Mrs. Thompson was crying. Other employees smiled. Even some who had previously laughed at her now seemed impressed. After the meeting, Amanda went to Catherine Davis to congratulate her. Congratulations, said Amanda sincerely. You deserve it. Thank you, replied Catherine. And congratulations to you too. What you've achieved, coming from where you came from, is remarkable. I'm going to need you on the team. I know theory, you know practice. Together we can make this hotel shine. It was a proposal of partnership, not subordination. Amanda smiled, a genuine smile for the first time in hours. The following days were about adaptation. Amanda officially left the housekeeping uniform and received her new assistant manager uniform. It was strange, almost surreal, to walk through the same hallways but with a completely different role. And William hadn't lied. The 6 months would be difficult. He put her in challenging situations from day one. He had her attend financial meetings where she barely understood the jargon, asked her to prepare complex reports, criticized every mistake, but also explained, taught, guided. "You can't lead if you don't understand the numbers," he said during a particularly frustrating session where Amanda couldn't make an operational balance. Numbers tell stories. You need to learn to read those stories. Amanda studied at night, took work home, asked Catherine for help when she didn't understand something. It was exhausting, but different from the fatigue she felt as a housekeeper. It was the fatigue of growth, not stagnation. But not everything was study and numbers. William also put her in practical leadership situations, and that's when things got really complicated. "From now on," said William in the third week, "you'll supervise the front desk team." Amanda froze. "The front desk team? The same one that mocked you. Yes, it's intentional. You need to learn to lead people who don't naturally respect you. You need to earn that respect. It's an essential part of leadership." It was calculated torture. Amanda knew it, but it was necessary. On the first day as front desk supervisor, the discomfort was palpable. Michael was still there, now having to answer to someone he had ridiculed. Jennifer avoided making eye contact with Amanda. Other front desk staff watched curiously to see how she would handle it. Amanda called a team meeting. Everyone sat around the table, the tension in the air almost physical. "I know this situation is awkward for all of us," began Amanda. "I know many of you don't respect me. Some of you mocked me, humiliated me, and I'm not going to pretend I've forgotten that." Michael looked down, uncomfortable. "But," Amanda continued, "I'm not here for revenge. I'm here because I have a job to do, and so do you. We can do this in two ways. We can continue with this animosity, which will make everyone's work miserable, or we can make a deal." "What kind of deal?" asked Jennifer, cautious. "A fresh start, all of us. I won't treat you based on the past. I'll treat you based on the work you do from now on. And I expect the same from you. You don't have to like me. You need to respect my position and do your job well. Can you do that?" There were murmurs, exchanged glances. Then, surprisingly, it was Michael who spoke first. "I can do that, and—" He hesitated. "I owe you an apology. For what I said, for how I treated you. It was wrong." Amanda didn't expect that. She looked at him, seeing something that seemed like genuine contrition. "I accept your apology." Jennifer was next. "I also apologize. I let myself be carried away by the group, by what others were doing. It's not an excuse, but it's the truth. You deserved better." One by one, the others also made peace, some more sincere than others. But it was a start. The first months were extremely difficult. Amanda made mistakes. She erred in prioritizing tasks. She erred in delegating responsibilities. She erred in giving feedback to employees. And each mistake was an opportunity for those who still doubted her to whisper that she wasn't prepared. But William was always there, not to solve the problems for her, but to make her reflect on them. "You made a mistake in today's meeting," he said after a particularly disastrous encounter with suppliers. "Do you know why?" "Because I wasn't prepared?" "No, you were prepared. But you let them perceive your insecurities. You apologized even before starting. Leadership isn't about being perfect. It's about having confidence even when you're not sure of everything." Amanda absorbed every lesson, every criticism, every piece of advice. And slowly, imperceptibly at first, she began to change. She became more confident, more assertive, more strategic in her thinking. There was a critical moment in the third month. A large corporate group had made a last-minute reservation for an important event. The reception had made a serious mistake by confirming more rooms than were available. It was exactly the kind of crisis William had used as a theoretical test, but now it was real, and Amanda was in charge of solving it. She gathered the team immediately, checked every detail of the reservation, the guests' profiles, the available alternatives. Then, instead of simply relocating people, she did something different. Personally called each of the affected guests, explained the mistake honestly, offered sincere apologies, and then offered personalized solutions based on what she knew about each of them. For some, she offered relocation to a partner hotel with free transportation and complimentary dinner. For others who were coming for meetings at the hotel itself, she offered private rooms for them to use during the day, even if they stayed elsewhere. For a family bringing children, she coordinated with the partner hotel to ensure they had specific amenities for the little ones. It took the entire night. Amanda made over 40 calls, coordinated with 3 different hotels, negotiated with suppliers, reorganized the event schedule. When dawn broke, the problem was solved. Not perfectly, but in a way that kept all the guests satisfied and turned a potential disaster into a demonstration of excellent customer service. William, upon hearing what happened, called Amanda into his office. "You solved yesterday's crisis," he said, but his tone didn't reveal whether he was satisfied or not. "Yes, sir." "How?" Amanda explained every step, every decision, every solution. William listened silently, then nodded. "You've learned. You've truly learned. You didn't just follow a protocol. You thought, you used empathy, you led. That's what I needed to see." For the first time, Amanda felt she was truly on the right path. The months went on. The hotel began to change under Catherine's new management, with Amanda and William supporting. The small changes Amanda had proposed in her presentation were gradually implemented. Extended breakfast hours, personalized offers for returning guests, improvements in communication between departments, and the results started to show. The hotel's online reviews improved. Guest return rates increased. Occupancy rose. Catherine, true to her word, worked in partnership with Amanda. Where Catherine had theoretical knowledge and strategic vision, Amanda had practical understanding and connection with the team. Together they formed an efficient duo. Michael, surprisingly, became one of Amanda's most loyal allies. After his initial apologies, he genuinely changed. He worked hard, accepted feedback, and showed he had learned from his own mistakes of arrogance. Mrs. Thompson, who had been a silent but constant supportive presence, finally approached Amanda one day. "Do you know why I helped you?" asked the older woman. "Out of kindness?" "Yes, but not just that. You reminded me of myself many years ago. I also had a dream once. I also wanted to climb, to grow, but I let people convince me it wasn't possible. I let fear win. When I saw you fighting, deciding not to give up, I saw a second chance. Not for me, but to show that it's possible. That women like us can achieve more than we're told we can." Amanda hugged Mrs. Thompson, understanding the depth of what the woman was saying. "Do you have any dreams left?" asked Amanda. "Something you'd like to do?" "At this point?" Mrs. Thompson laughed. "I'm almost 60. My days of dreaming big are over." "They're not," said Amanda firmly. "They never are. If this process has taught me anything, it's that it's never too late to try." The conversation planted a seed. In the following weeks, Amanda created, with Catherine's approval, an internal development program. Any employee, regardless of position or age, could apply for training and courses paid for by the hotel. It was a way to give back, to ensure others wouldn't have to fight alone like she did. Mrs. Thompson was one of the first to sign up. She wanted to learn people management. She wanted, at 60, to finally take the next step in her career. Amanda's 6th month as assistant manager came quickly. William scheduled a final evaluation meeting. "These 6 months have been a test," he said when Amanda entered his office. "A test not only of your skills, but of your character, your resilience, your ability to lead under pressure." Amanda nodded, nervous. "You went through difficult situations, worked with people who looked down on you, faced challenges you'd never faced before, made mistakes, many mistakes, and learned from each one of them." William opened a folder on his desk. "I have here evaluations from all the departments you worked with. Feedback from Catherine, from your team, from guests, from suppliers." He flipped through the papers, then looked at Amanda. "It's unanimous. Everyone says you've grown exponentially, that you've become a true leader, that the hotel is better with you in a management position." Amanda felt tears beginning to form. "Therefore," continued William, "I'm pleased to announce that you are no longer Assistant Operations Manager. From now on, you are Operations Manager, with all the responsibilities and authority the position entails." It was official. She had made it. Not exactly how she imagined, Not in the time she expected, but she had made it. "Thank you, Mr. William. Thank you for believing in me when no one else did." "I didn't believe in you at first," said William honestly. "I had doubts, but you proved me wrong for doubting, and that's one of the greatest qualities of a true leader, making others question their own prejudices." Amanda left that office and immediately called Emily. "Honey, I did it. I really did it." "I never doubted you, Mom," said Emily, her voice full of emotion. "Never." That evening, the hotel organized a small ceremony to make Amanda's promotion official. It wasn't anything big or glamorous, it was simple in the events room, with the team gathered. Catherine gave a speech about teamwork and merit. William spoke about determination and growth. And then they asked Amanda to speak. She stood up looking at all those people, some who had supported her, others who had hindered her, all now part of her journey. "When I started at this hotel 12 years ago," said Amanda, "I was a broken woman. My marriage had ended. I had a young daughter to raise. I had no college education, no prospects, nothing but an opportunity to clean rooms. And I took it, grateful to have at least that." She paused, emotions threatening to overwhelm her. "For years I was invisible. I walked through the halls and no one really saw me. I was just another housekeeper, just another replaceable employee. And at some point I started to believe it. I started to think that was all I could be." Mrs. Thompson was crying silently at the back of the room. "But then something changed. I don't know if it was seeing my daughter grow up and have big dreams. I don't know if it was simply the exhaustion of living a life without aspirations. But I decided to try. I decided to believe I could be more. And it wasn't easy," Amanda continued. "You know it wasn't. I was ridiculed, humiliated, sabotaged. There were times I wanted to give up, when it seemed easier to just accept my place and stop fighting. But I had people who believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. My daughter, who called me every night to give me strength. Mrs. Thompson, who risked her own job to help me. Mr. William, who gave me a chance when it would have been easier to ignore me. Catherine, who welcomed me as a partner instead of seeing me as a threat. What I've learned is that none of us achieve anything alone. We are a sum of the people who support us, the challenges we face, the choices we make every day to keep trying." Amanda looked around the room. "So, my message to you, especially to those in positions like I was, who feel invisible, who think they can never be more, you can. It won't be easy. It will require sacrifice, study, resilience. There will be people who will laugh at you, who will try to stop you. But if you really want it, if you're willing to fight, you can achieve more than you imagine." The room erupted in applause, and this time Amanda didn't hold back the tears. She let them fall. Tears of relief, of achievement, of gratitude. After the ceremony, Michael approached. "Amanda, I know I've already apologized, but I need to say it again. What I did was terrible. The way I treated you, the things I said. I was blinded by my own arrogance. You taught me an important lesson about humility and about judging people." "We're all learning, Michael," said Amanda, "including me. And part of what I've learned is about forgiveness. Not just forgiving others, but forgiving myself for my own mistakes and limitations." Jennifer also approached, hesitant. "I have no excuse for what I did," said the young receptionist. "I knew it was wrong, but I did it anyway because I wanted to fit in, because I was afraid of being the next target if I defended you. That shames me." "What matters is that you learned," said Amanda, "and that from now on, you'll do things differently. You'll be the person who defends, not the one who attacks." The following weeks were about adapting to the new reality. Amanda now participated in board meetings, had a voice in strategic decisions, supervised multiple departments. It was a level of responsibility that scared her, but also energized her. She didn't abandon her roots. She still made a point of knowing every employee by name, listening to their concerns, being present in the day-to-day operations. She was a manager, unlike what the hotel was used to. She didn't stay locked in offices. She was in the hallways, the rooms, the kitchen, the front desk. She saw problems before they became crises. She understood needs before they became complaints. And the hotel thrived. The changes implemented by Catherine and supported by Amanda began to yield impressive results. The hotel rose in online ratings, became a benchmark for personalized service, and occupancy reached record levels. Corporate management noticed. And 6 months after Amanda was officially promoted to operations manager, William called her into his office again. "The corporation is opening a new hotel in Miami," he said. "It's an ambitious project. They want to replicate the success we had here, and they're looking for someone to be the general manager of this new venture." Amanda felt her heart race. "I recommended you," continued William, "but I'm still learning. I still have so much to develop. And you'll keep learning. Leadership isn't about knowing everything. It's about having the humility to keep learning while leading. You have that. You have the rare combination of practical knowledge, genuine empathy, and unwavering determination. That's exactly what this new hotel needs." "But what about here? And the work we're doing?" "Catherine is more than capable of continuing. And you can choose your team to take with you. You can choose people who learned from you, who share your leadership vision." It was a huge opportunity. It was also scary. Moving to another city, starting from scratch, taking on an even bigger challenge. Amanda thought of her daughter, who was now finishing college. She thought of Mrs. Thompson and everything she had recently achieved. She thought of the journey she had taken, from an invisible housekeeper to a respected manager. "I need to think," said Amanda. "Of course, it's a big decision. Take your time." Amanda spent the next few days in deep reflection. She talked with Emily, who immediately supported her. She talked with Mrs. Thompson, who encouraged her to accept. She talked with Catherine, who assured her the hotel would be in good hands. And she realized something important. During all those years, she had fought to prove she deserved a seat at the table. But now she was being offered not just a seat, but the head of the table. Not out of pity or politics, but out of genuine merit. Refusing would be letting fear win. Accepting would be taking the next step in a journey she herself had started when she decided she deserved more. She accepted. The news spread quickly through the hotel. There was sadness about Amanda's departure, but also pride. She wasn't leaving because she was let go or because she failed. She was leaving because she had grown beyond what that space could offer. The hotel organized a farewell party. There were simple decorations, food, music. It was a genuine celebration of someone who had become beloved, not for her position, but for the person she was. During the party, William gave one last speech. Amanda Parker arrived at this hotel 12 years ago to clean rooms. She leaves today as the general manager of our new venture in Miami. If anyone still doubts that merit and determination can overcome any obstacle, this is living proof. He turned to Amanda. "You haven't just grown professionally. You've transformed the culture of this hotel. You've shown that true leadership comes from empathy, from real knowledge, from respect for people at every level. You've changed how we see talent, and that's a legacy that will last long beyond your departure." Amanda was openly crying now, not caring who saw. "Thank you," she said, her voice choked. "Thank you for giving me the chance that many wouldn't. Thank you for believing I could be more than what I seemed. And thank you for teaching me that true success isn't about reaching the top alone, but about lifting others up with you." Mrs. Thompson approached, a small gift in her hands. "This is for you," said the older woman, handing over the package. Amanda opened it. Inside was a framed badge. It was her first housekeeping badge from 12 years ago, next to her current operations manager badge. "So you never forget where you came from," said Mrs. Thompson. "And always remember what you've achieved." Amanda hugged the woman, both crying together. The preparations for the move took a few weeks. Amanda carefully selected her team for Miami. She chose Michael, who had proven himself reliable and dedicated. She chose Jennifer, who deserved a second chance and an opportunity for growth. She chose people from different departments, assembling a diverse team that reflected her leadership philosophy. And she chose Mrs. Thompson. "Me?" The woman was shocked. "Amanda, I'm close to retirement. It doesn't make sense to take me." "It makes perfect sense. You'll be the human resources supervisor. You'll ensure we hire and develop people the right way. You'll be the guardian of the culture we want to create. No one better than you for that, Mrs. Thompson cried again, but this time they were tears of joy. At 60 years old, she was receiving the promotion she never imagined possible. The day of departure arrived. Amanda took one last look at the hotel that had been her home for 12 years, the hallways she had walked thousands of times, the rooms she had meticulously cleaned, the front desk where she had been ridiculed and later celebrated. Catherine hugged her. "You're going to do an amazing job there, and when I need advice, I'll call you." "And when I need strategic perspective, I'll call you," Amanda replied. William shook her hand formally, but there was genuine affection in his eyes. "You surprised me, Amanda Parker, and you keep surprising me. Go there and build something extraordinary." "I'll do my best." "Your best is more than enough." Amanda got into the car that would take her to the airport, along with Emily, who decided to go with her to help with the initial setup. As the car drove away, she looked out the back window, watching the hotel grow smaller in the distance. She wasn't leaving with sadness. She was leaving with gratitude. Gratitude for the journey, the lessons, the people she had met, the battles she had won, and those she had lost because each one had shaped who she was now. In Miami, a new challenge awaited her. A new hotel, a new team, a new city. But she was no longer scared, she was confident, because she knew that, no matter what came, she had the tools, the experience, and, most importantly, the resilience to face it. The new hotel was still under final construction when Amanda arrived. It was huge, modern, with an ocean view, much bigger than the hotel in New York City, more complex, more ambitious. William had told her during the farewell flight, "You're going to make mistakes. You're going to face challenges you didn't expect. But remember, you don't need to be perfect. You need to be real, be fair, and keep learning." Amanda repeated these words to herself as she looked at the imposing building before her. Her team was by her side, all equally nervous and excited. "Ready?" asked Michael. "Ready," answered Amanda. And she was. She was ready to lead. She was ready to build. She was ready to create an environment where every employee, regardless of position, was valued, where talent was recognized, where no one was invisible. Because that was the most important lesson she had learned. Every person matters. Every story has value. And when you lead with empathy, with respect, and with the willingness to see potential in people, you don't just build successful hotels. You transform lives. The hotel opened 3 months later. The opening ceremony was elegant, with local authorities, press, and important guests. Amanda, dressed professionally, greeted everyone with the same warmth she used to welcome guests when she was a housekeeper. During her opening speech, she didn't talk about luxury or exclusivity. She talked about true hospitality, about making every person feel welcome, about excellence that comes from genuine care, not just well-executed procedures. "This hotel," she said, "will be known not just for its beauty but for the quality of its service. And that quality will come from the fact that every employee here is valued, respected, and has the opportunity to grow. Because we believe that when you take good care of your people, they take good care of your guests." The first months were, as William had predicted, full of challenges. Problems Amanda had never faced. Crises that tested her leadership ability at completely new levels. There were nights when she returned to her apartment questioning if she had made the right choice in accepting. But always, when doubt threatened to take over, she remembered where she had started. She remembered the laughter in the hotel lobby in New York City. She remembered the false accusation. She remembered every obstacle overcome, and she remembered that if she had managed to get there, she could keep growing. And the hotel thrived. Within 6 months, it had one of the best ratings in the entire network. Within a year, it was being used as a model for other hotels in the chain. And Amanda, the woman who 12 years earlier was an invisible housekeeper, was now invited to speak at conferences about leadership, about overcoming, about organizational transformation. But she never forgot her roots. She kept Mrs. Thompson's framed name tag in her office. She made a point of knowing every employee by name, of asking about their lives, of being present in the hallways as much as in board meetings, and she created aggressive internal development programs. ensuring that others had the opportunities she had to fight so hard to get. 2 years after the hotel opened in Miami, Amanda received a call from William. "The corporation is impressed with you," he said. "They're creating a new position, Regional Director of Operational Excellence. You would be responsible for implementing your management and people development philosophies in all the hotels in the region. Interested?" Amanda thought for a moment. More responsibility, more challenges, more opportunities to make a positive impact. "Yes," she said, "I'm interested." Because that was who she had become, not someone who avoided challenges, but someone who embraced them, not someone who accepted limitations, but someone who constantly questioned and overcame them. The journey that had started with a simple decision, submitting an application despite the laughter, had turned into something much bigger. It wasn't just about her own rise, it was about showing a way. It was about proving that the system could change, it was about inspiring others. And Amanda knew her story wasn't over yet. There were still more mountains to climb, more obstacles to overcome, more lives to impact. But she was ready. Because finally, after years of struggle, doubt, and overcoming, she completely believed in herself, and that, perhaps, was the most important victory of all. End of story. Now tell me, what did you think of this story? Where are you listening from? Do you believe Amanda made the right decisions throughout her journey? Which part of the story moved you the most? Leave your sincere words here in the comments. I'd love to know your opinion about this story of overcoming and determination. Thank you so much for joining me this far. Don't forget to leave your like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other inspiring stories like this one. Your participation makes all the difference.